Yeah, two things I was thinking about in that. So inconsistency, and tell me how you feel about these things. These things just popped in my head. These are two intangibles you need. You need preparation and perseverance.
Oh, for sure.
And in the preparation standpoint, you have, hey, I need to plan and understand what I need going into this,
Mm-hmm.
but I need that perseverance to know that everything's not always going to be as I think it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Like anything that's planned is probably not always going to go to plan. In the wedding industry, 100%, nothing on the timeline is ever on time.
Yeah.
Things happen. Sometimes people don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was too drunk from last night. Like things get rescheduled. But as the creator in this aspect, you have to be one prepared enough by the experience that you gain
Mm-hmm.
to be able to persevere through this moment and pivot.
Absolutely.
That's another one. That's we just adding peas today. But being able to pivot and say, okay, well, we can't do that. Let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this actually works better in these numbers. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have uneven things, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe this works out in the favor of. But how do you feel about that as far as preparation and perseverance in being consistent?
No, absolutely. I think you're absolutely on top of it. And there's a level of preparation that will allow you, I think, that will feed into that perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can only prepare so much because there are uncertainties within anything.
Yeah,
There's never a 100% it went exactly as planned.
at all.
But what is amazing with preparation is that the preparation will prepare you and put you in position to handle the uncertainties
Mm-hmm.
and to persevere through them. So I do think you're like right on it. And like you said, that pivot, also knowing when to pivot, when to make the change, and when to just power through it and persevere, right? So I do think you're absolutely on it. In consistency, when you're always in a place, people say stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Like when
Mm-hmm.
you're always in a place where you are preparing to some degree for your next, whether it's your next level, whether it's your next client, whether it's your next project, like personal project, whatever it is creatively, when you're always staying in a place of like learning and preparing for the next thing, I think it gives you a lot of patience and perseverance to either get through the uncertainties, or know how to pivot in the uncertainties.
Yeah.
I think you're right on it with that. There's a level of consistency that you just naturally build when you're properly preparing, and that just makes everything else like it don't make it easy and smooth, but it makes it all doable. It makes it all like, okay, I can do this again. Like I'm not gonna stop here now. It was hard, but on to the next.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing with like your goals. Um, your goals have to continue to evolve, which helps that journey of consistency be continuous.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we set a goal now, just for example, for this show, let's say we set a goal of 10, 12 episodes. All right, cool. But after we got 10, 12 episodes and we're on like episode 9 has been published, what is the next milestone or goal for that? How can we be consistent if we don't continue to evolve? So that evolution, because we clearly aren't from monkeys, and so that evolution is different. But the evolution of being able to continue to create
Yeah.
things and reevaluate is an easy way to continue to be consistent.
Absolutely. And I think that is a major key with consistency. I know we're going to be wrapping up in a second. But if I could say anything like to get to that, and it goes back to those goals, like eventually you're going to hit that goal that kept you consistent in the first place. So what's the next thing? What's the next level? It doesn't stop. It just evolves. You grow, you evolve. And as you grow and evolve, so should what you're aiming for.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be the fuel that keeps you consistent, keeps you growing, and keeps you going.
Yeah, growing and going. We using a lot of double words here, pivoting and persistence and perseverance and going and growing and listen. I don't even understand why people can't be consistent.
I have thoughts.
Let's hear them real quick.
We got enough time?
Let's see. Our set director. How much time we have, Coach? All right.
Okay. I have a lot of thoughts around consistency. You talked about this at the last episode. You said getting in your own way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know in my orbit, in my like sphere of influence, and the people that I am either around or who follow me on my personal pages, I follow a lot of people who are very introverted, who
Yeah.
are, just afraid. Like, I do think to some degree, fear. Fear is a big thing that keeps people from being consistent, keeps people from showing up. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about with consistency. It keeps people from showing up.
Yeah.
And fear has this debilitating effect where it stops you, it hinders you. And showing up is all about not being hindered, like go, like do it, right? So I think at the root of a lot of things is just like fear, and just being in your own way. I think you mentioned something like imposter syndrome at one, like you mentioned that we're on a break, but I know in my orbit and something that I try to encourage people out of, especially people who are not as extroverted and who are not the, like put me on the spot type of people. But they have just as much value to provide and just as much, things that they could be contributing to others around them. The biggest thing is just like getting past you,
Yeah.
getting past your own stuff, your own fears, your own insecurities. Those are like my biggest ones that I see.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
No, the inside of yourself and that imposter syndromeism is real. It's crazy because just to think that you got so many people with so many great gifts and talents, and just blatantly seem freakishly out of this world good at things, but you never watch the process of them continuing to do the thing and how consistent they were in developing that muscle memory,
Yeah.
that back end knowledge of saying, oh, I'm not thinking about how to do this because I just do this.
Yeah.
That's because I was consistent at continuing to do this. So
Yeah.
you can't get to a point if you haven't worked on the process to reach that point.
Yeah.
So like the journey is so important. The process, the journey, all the things that people say are real, but and I think this is important as we wrap up. I feel like we at church and the preacher talking about I'm almost done, but don't ever get there. I think that's so important that when people are in a place of flow,
Yeah.
they just start doing the things. And so the people that aren't, that are in admiration, haven't yet gained the confidence within inside themselves to do the thing.
Yep.
So if we keep showing up, we are going to keep getting better.
That's it.
And then that's only one intangible. What are you studying in order to improve your ability?
Yeah.
So your learning capability and your self-worth and value
Yes.
is so amazing how great we can be as human beings by just doing.
Yep. And that was, you literally touched on the last thought that I had was, if it's not that you're just afraid to do it or like I'm afraid to be on camera, stuff like that, a lot of times people will say, well, I don't know how.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But you hit on it, like that learning piece. Well, if you start and you get in a place of flow, you'll learn.
Yeah.
And also like come to the content classroom.
Yeah. Come to the content class. Does that mean that class is out of session?
Hey, y'all are dismissed. Class is out of session.